Hey guys, welcome to episode 2 of Big Deal Real Estate. You're here because you believe you can be a successful real estate investor or entrepreneur just like myself. The goal of this show is to introduce you to the ideas and tactics implemented by successful real estate investors and entrepreneurs so that you can use that to generate wealth for you and your family. My first guest is a real estate investor and entrepreneur and is one of my good friends. I met him in Las Vegas at a real estate seminar, and as soon as I met him, I could tell he was no ordinary man. On the surface, he's cool and collected, but when you get to know him, you realize just how passionate he is about lifelong learning, being open-minded, and willing to go out and make his dreams a reality. He's founded multiple businesses such as Precision Packing College Movers, which hasn't had a complaint or accident in 4 years. He runs Motivate Maine, which is a motivational platform for business, finances, and life. He's currently an agent at Keller Williams Realty, is the founder of the Flip the Switch movement, and much, much more. Even if he quit today, his resume would make others, just completely pale in comparison, but anybody who knows this man knows that that is just not going to happen. I'd like to introduce you to Maine's millennial millionaire mentor, Tyler Hall.
I like that.
I got it. That's a tongue twister.
Good to see you.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
So, jumping right into it, can you talk about the Flip the Switch movement?
So basically, it all started because last year, I was in a position where I was transferring a couple businesses. I was kind of moving outside of the labor-related business into the mindset business, where I was just going to be using my mind to make money. So that transition was kind of weird for me because primarily I had thought that making money and being successful in my thought of working hard was working with your hands and your back. So kind of that transfer last year of not using my hands and my back so much to going to just using my brain, it was kind of a weird transition for me.
Oh, sure.
So, when I started to realize that, I wasn't doing as much as I was before, it was kind of like a weird thing for me to get over the fact that, I was doing enough. I was making more money than I had before I was doing all of that stuff. But it was just came to a point where I felt like I was being lazy, and I felt like there was so much more for me, right? So I felt like I was not meeting my true potential, which is something that's going to keep you up at night. Mm-hmm. Like that literally woke me up in the morning very early, and it kept me up at night knowing that I was not meeting my true potential.
Oh, sure.
You know what I mean? So
yeah, I get the same feeling. Like if I don't feel like that I've done well enough during the day, I can't sleep at night, man.
Yeah.
I just can't do it.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at your life in 1 year, you can really tell if you turned it up a notch, If you didn't, you also know. Mm-hmm. So last year I knew that I was not meeting my true potential. So what I did was I changed my mindset into just going ahead and learning multiple facets of real estate. I knew that I wanted to get primarily into real estate. Mm-hmm. So I just started learning as many things about real estate as I possibly could. I got my home inspection certification. I went and took the home loan origination course. I went and got my real estate license. I wanted to do an appraiser too, just to have the knowledge. But it's a much more drawn out process. So basically I started going through all of that, but I still felt like there was so much more that I wasn't doing. So for the start of the new year, I started something in late December for myself, and I just started hashtagging Flip the Switch on all of my content online, and that's kind of how it started. I just started hashtagging Flip the Switch, and it kind of picked up. People started using it and like tagging me in the stuff that they're hashtagging Flip the Switch, and I felt like people really resonated with that thought of flipping the switch on the things that they want to do. So that's kind of like the overall thought is like flip the switch is the times where we all have those things we know we want to do. We say it to ourselves every single day, all the small tasks, all the big tasks, everything. We all set these things up for ourselves. We want to do this, we want to do that, but we never get to it.
Oh,
right?
Sure.
We never actually do it.
Yeah.
And it's like, if at the end of the day you go to sleep at night knowing, damn, I should have done that. Why didn't I do that? And then you go ahead and say, I'll do it tomorrow. And you never do it tomorrow. You never do it the next day. But no one ever just fucking does it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's kind of like where Flip the Switch just arose. I just was like, I'm not doing that this year. I'm going to just flip the switch on every single thing, every idea I have. I'm just going to make it happen. If it doesn't work out, great. If it works out, awesome. So that's kind of how like flip the switch came a thing, and we've got many followers with us now, and
Yeah, clearly it's working for you.
that's pretty cool.
So for the people back home, when you say flip the switch, does flipping the switch on the little things in your life impact you just as much as flipping the switch on the big things?
Oh, I mean, you have to flip the switch on the little stuff.
Sure.
Like the little tiny baby stuff that you don't even think of, and you just put it off. The little things lead up to the big things. Mm-hmm. So one thing that I was noticing, and I've noticed it more this year than ever, is that I've been taking a stance on teaching people how to go ahead and do a lot of like real estate stuff, and I've poured a lot of time into these people, and what I'm realizing is that people don't do the little flips, okay? They don't flip the switch on the little things, and when it comes time to flip the switch on the big thing, it almost becomes like overwhelmingly, impossible for them, right? So flipping the switch on these little tiny things along the way, when you finally get to these things that are like big things to other people, all of a sudden it's nothing to you. So that's kind of like how my life this year, especially this year, has progressed, is that there's a lot of people watching me on social media, watching what I'm doing, and they think, oh my God, how does this kid keep doing this stuff? Yeah. And it's like, at this point, it just feels like normal to me. I just start flipping the switch on everything, start this company, start that company, and companies are just creating themselves at this point.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So basically it's like, if you wanted to run a marathon and you never trained a day in your life, you couldn't you could just wake up in the morning and do it, but you'd have a pretty tough time. You wouldn't make it a mile. But if you train every day and you just work at it every day consistently and passionately, that'll all come together and just work out for you.
Exactly, and it works for just about everybody.
Because it's literally pertinent to every single person on the earth, right? Yeah. If you think about flip the switch and what it truly means at its core, it's not just about real estate, or it's not just about starting companies. It's literally about everything that you do. You flip the switch on the gym in the morning, you become more healthy. You flip the switch on your career, you flip the switch on your love life. You can flip the switch on basically anything you want.
Yeah.
It's just the underlying message of what the flip the switch actually means is what really gets to people.
Yeah. One thing I've been flipping the switch on in my life is my health.
Yeah.
Not so much about like exercising. I normally do that, like I go for a run every day, but mainly about what I'm eating. Mm-hmm. Like I try to avoid the fast food, the fatty foods, just the foods that don't make me feel good.
Yeah. And
when I eat the right foods in the right proportions, I just find that I have so much more energy throughout the day. I can get more done. I'm not bogged down. It helps me. It doesn't give me a positive mindset, but it definitely helps me stay in that positive mindset.
Absolutely.
I found that whenever you struggle just a little bit with something and you do something that not everybody else is doing, it gives you a slight sense of power. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's really important, and especially in being an entrepreneur, to think of yourself as a powerful person is 9/10 of the game. So
you read all these books that say mindset is key, but I didn't really start implementing those ideas until this year. And when I started doing that, like just having a positive mindset, thinking bigger, and believing I could do it, these amazing things just started happening.
Yeah, I mean that's the biggest piece, man. Is just to believe that you can do it. Right, that's literally the biggest piece, and I met someone at the beginning of this year. His name's Andrew Maley, and you guys will probably see him on an episode later on. He came to me as a 19-year-old kid, and he was trying to get into the real estate game, like really, really trying hard, and he came to me and he saw me on that I went over to Ty Lopez's house. And he just like idolizes Ty Lopez, so he just reached out to me. He's like, "Hey man, like, can I just meet you? Can we talk about real estate?" And I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." And that's kind of where Andrew was at too. He knew he could do it, but the belief in himself wasn't all entirely there, right? And that's kind of like what I had to touch on him and say, "Hey man, you can do it." And that's I introduced him to flip the switch. He lives, breathes, and eats flip the switch every day. Anybody who's on Facebook in the state of Maine and all over the East Coast knows who Andrew Maley is now. Yeah. He's everywhere.
When did he start flipping the switch?
So he started flipping the switch literally the second I met him. So the second I met him, we met at a place called Stockhouse in Westbrook, and I told him, I told him a little bit about my life, how I live my life. I live my life very frugally. Like I live my life poor, is how I say it. I don't, spend any money on myself. I don't go out to eat all the time. I just live my life very poorly. And I think that that's a huge reason why I've got to the point where I'm at, because
It doesn't matter how much money you spend. I mean, how much money you make. It's about how much money you spend. And that's a very important message. And that's kind of like what I told Andrew.
and it's kind of funny, the night he went home, after that meeting, he sent me a Snapchat of him eating something out of his dad's fridge. And he's like, free!
And so it was like, the second I saw that, I knew that the kid was serious.
And I knew that he was for real.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, just knowing that it's possible, right? And that's one thing that I really instilled in Andrew is like, the only difference between me, you, and every other person in the entire world is your level of perception, right? That's it. That is literally it. How you perceive the world in your own mind and how you think and what you think is possible for you, that's the only difference between me, you, Andrew, anybody.
Yeah, because if you perceive the world in a negative way, you're going to notice all these little things that justify that mindset. However, on the flip side, if you find all the positives in the world, you're just going to see all the good things about it. You're just going to appreciate things more, and things are just going to take off for you. You're going to be more happy. You're going to be doing more business.
Right.
Your relationships are going to get better. Your health is going to get better.
Well, it goes for every single facet of your life, and that's kind of like what I preach is like, don't just flip the switch, because a lot of people do one thing. Okay, they may not flip the switch, but they flip the switch on one part of their life typically, or a couple. You know what I mean? They either flip the switch on their love life, they either flip the switch on their career or their health, or their anything in their life. They usually flip it on one or two things, but they don't flip it on every single piece of their life.
Right.
And that's where all the puzzles start to come together.
That's what I noticed earlier this spring is like, in order for me to be really successful in my life, I needed to synergistically be successful in all aspects of my life.
I mean, your health. I mean, that's another thing that my health was taking a turn too.
I mean, I eat one meal a day, and the one meal that I was having a day, I was just smashing it out, right? I would literally eat probably 3,000, 4,000 calories because I was so hungry that I was just eating all this food, and it wasn't good food. So that's one thing that I really flipped the switch on this year as well, is like what I'm putting into my body, because I'm building wealth. Eventually I want to be able to enjoy that wealth.
Yeah, I can't do that if I'm, feeding myself very.
It's like what Ty says. It doesn't matter if you have $1 billion if you're 450 pounds.
Right.
Who gives a shit? You can't enjoy it.
No.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, so that's kind of like that's the whole idea behind Flip the Switch, and we really instill that into every single one of our students, because it literally ingrains into everything that you do. Right? And if you have Flip the Switch in the back of your mind, that's constantly what you're thinking about, right? Every single decision that you make, your life is made of decisions. You're going to be flipping the switch on these decisions, right? And it helps with your level of perception too, because I spoke about level of perception earlier, and I really believe that to expand people's level of perception before they actually do something is very important. That's what we try to teach our students. Is what we try to do is we try to expand their level of perception before they actually see it or do it.
You got to pour a good foundation.
Yeah, it's really hard to do, because most of the time, most people, they need to see something as possible by actually doing it before they actually believe that it's possible.
Yeah.
So,
And that's why I think having mentors is very important, because they'll show you the way when you didn't even know that, there was a way to get there.
Exactly.
And they'll get you unstuck when you didn't even know you were stuck to begin with.
Yep.
But so for the viewers back home, can you give us an example of how you flipped the switch on like a real estate deal?
Sure.
On how it flipped the switch helped you make a real estate deal happen?
Absolutely,
and,
dude. I mean,
this year has been insane for me. I've flipped the switch so many times this year. It's just a habit at this point.
Good.
It's getting to a crazy point. I don't know if I'm going to be able to shut it off or not, but it's kind of getting scary. So
You set this wheel in motion.
yeah,
you can't
man, it's
stop
just
it.
yeah, it's at a point right now where I'm just flipping the switch around every corner. Like it's getting crazy. But anyway, you know, as soon as like I started this, right at the end, I think it was the end of December, was when I started really using Flip the Switch for myself. And
in January, I went under contract right before the end of December. I went under contract on my first commercial deal.
Yep.
And it's an old bank building. I watched this bank building all summer long. It was on the market forever. No one was touching it. And I just watched it. I thought it was overpriced at first. And clearly everybody else had an issue with it. So I just watched this deal, okay? I just watched it. And then it came to a point where, you know, I went in and I actually looked at it with the listing agent, and she was telling me a lot about it. You know, I always like to ask more questions than I should,
Yeah.
and she started to say like, the reason why they haven't been able to sell it is because of the zoning issue.
Mm-hmm.
So the zoning was an industrial park zone. And a lot of the people that were wanting the building were medical offices, okay, because it's a perfect medical office building. And I said, okay, that makes sense. And then so I waited on that for another probably couple months, okay? And eventually it came to a point where I got a text message, okay? So what I did was, after I left there, I went on to the City of Westbrook's website, and you can sign up for notifications from the board.
Yep.
And so I signed up for that right away, and I said that I wanted any text messages on anything that happened in the city.
And one day I got a text message from the City of Westbrook that said that they were going to be adding stuff in the meeting to the industrial park zone. So the first thing I did, I went over and I sat in the parking lot, and I was just sitting there looking at this building, and I'm trying to figure out how the hell I was going to do it, right? I'm just like, how am I going to pull this deal off? And all of a sudden, the listing agent pulls into the driveway. You know, I had my phone out ready to text her, and she pulls into the driveway. And I was just like, I'm sold. But at this point, I still wanted to figure out how to pull this deal off, because I wanted to pull it off quickly, and I also didn't know anything about commercial real estate, right? But but what I did know is that I wanted to go ahead and pull off the deal and then refi 6 months later to see what I could pull out, right? See if I gave my money back. So what I did was I actually ended up, so I flipped the switch on putting an offer, right? So I flipped the switch, put it in this offer, my first commercial deal. And then what I also did was I also went down the street to a guy named Art Gerard, big lender in Portland. And what I did was I ended up hooking up with him to fund the deal. So I flipped the switch again. That was the first deal that I ever used private money on, which was a little scary for me. Historically, I was just residential. I was just doing regular, conventional investment loans. So using private money was a little scary for me. There was deadlines, and I'm not good with deadlines, but there was all kinds of stuff along the way for that that I wasn't that comfortable with. But I flipped the switch on anyway. I knew it would work out.
Sure.
Right? So I just went to work, and the building didn't need anything. It just needed that zoning to pass. That's it.
Yeah.
So I waited for 5.5 months for that zoning. The zoning passed along that way.
Yeah, I remember that.
And during this period too, I also flipped the switch on a couple other buildings that I needed to go through for the financing piece of it to refi it. So I don't know our listeners. I don't know if you guys know much about financing, but you have to make sure your finances are right in line to pull off an actual financial deal. So I was with the bank. I had the bank all lined up, but I had to pull off these other deals first before I went actually and pulled this one off. I flipped the switch along the way on those things, and then literally like 5.5 months, literally right before, it was literally the day of the 6-month period that ended on the financing with Art Gerard.
Yeah.
I closed the deal on that very 6 month. Yeah. Yeah, so I was super nervous about it. Andrew was with me, and
At any point in that 6 months, did you doubt yourself, or were you just all in, I'm gonna make this happen?
100%. I mean, 100%.
there was a couple times where I almost didn't get to sleep because I'm like, okay, well, I'm carrying this thing, right? I was carrying it, and it was a lot of money, man. I think I was paying like $3,000 in interest a month. Yeah, it was a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I was paying big bucks for the financing and just hoping on a prayer that I would be able to get a refi and get that money back. Yeah. So that's kind of like there was multiple times where I was like, oh man, like I really wanted to find a renter or a couple renters for this.
Yeah. But in the back of my mind, man, I wanted to put my own businesses in there.
You know what I mean? So it was kind of like dragging me along where I was like, I knew what I wanted to do with it, but at the same time, the finances were just kind of holding it down. But yeah, that 6 month came in and it got refied. It got appraised for $210,000 more than what I bought it for 6 months prior.
Wow.
Yeah. So I added $210,000 to my net worth in 6 months. Yeah. And I was able to cash out $60,000, which I put into the deal.
So you stayed positive, you flipped the switch, you were curious enough to ask those questions with the realtor. You went down to the city hall, you were proactive, you took action, and all those steps combined and believing in yourself helped you add.
The belief in myself was the only thing. Yeah. That was literally it. Is that I knew that I flipped the switch on it, and then the belief in myself that it would all work out in the end. Yeah. Because I don't in my real estate career, I have never had a mentor. Okay, so I don't have a mentor to go to and say, hey man, is this gonna work out? What should I do next? What do I do? So that entire process, I was doing that blind. I didn't know what was gonna happen. I didn't know commercial real estate. I knew nothing about it. I didn't know how the appraisal worked out. I didn't know any of that stuff. I was just going off the seat of my pants, dude. Yeah. And just hoping it worked out in the end. And it worked out better than I ever thought it would in the end.
Cool. To all the listeners back home, you don't have to, feel like you're alone like he did.
Yeah, you definitely want to get a mentor.
Feel free to reach out to either one of us. We'll teach you how to do it, but don't go at it alone. We'll teach you.
Yeah, I mean, that's essentially why I started Main REIT.
Which is Main Real Estate Investment Training.
Yeah.
That's why I started that, because I went through that whole entire process. At the end of this month, I'll have 28 units in my portfolio. So I went through each one of these deals solely on my own. Literally just me and a hatchet, just hacking stuff down, seeing what's next. Okay, so I feel like I've seen just about everything that I can see in two and a half years. Obviously I haven't, but I feel like I have, man.
Yeah.
I've gone through a lot of stuff that people that have been in the business 35 years don't even know what it's about. So, call me lucky or call me crazy. I don't know which one it is, but
yeah, I mean, that's kind of why I started Main REIT, is because I felt like, I reached out to a bunch of people, and everyone was way too busy to help me, to mentor me the way I wanted to be mentored.
Sure, I've been in that boat.
Yeah, and the only answer I ever got was, no, I'm too busy, I'm sorry.
And so, that's why I take that very seriously. That's why when Andrew Maley contacted me, I took that very seriously. And I said, hey man, let's do it. Let's do something. Yeah. So that's why I started Main REIT, so I could teach other people or just be any sort of guidance. You know what I mean? I'm not saying, we're not saying that we know everything in the entire world about real estate, because we don't. But what we know through trial and error is a lot more than what other people know below us. Right? Exactly. Or beside us. So you can learn something from everybody. You know what I mean? And I genuinely believe that.
So for the listeners back home, for those guys who are sitting in front of their computers, they got a 9-to-5 that they hate, they just don't quite know what to do, but they want to get into real estate or entrepreneurship, what would your recommendation be for where should they start? What should they go learn? What should they do?
Right here, dude.
Flip the switch.
That's literally it, dude.
I'm not even joking. I have people reach out to me every single day. Okay? Every day. And literally they ask me all the same questions. They literally ask me the same question. Hey, what book or what course did you take, or what literature did you write, or who was your mentor? Or they all ask all these same questions, and my answer to every single one of them is, I really haven't read that many books. Okay, I haven't read. The only single book that I ever read on real estate is Robert Kiyosaki's book.
Yep. I'm a Rich Dad junkie. I love it.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
I read that in high school, didn't understand a lick of it, okay? But I soaked it all in somewhere, okay? That's the only book that I've ever read on that. I haven't read any of the, and you know, I'm not saying that it's the right thing to do because it's clearly not. But what I am saying is that all of these people think that there's just knowledge, okay? And then they forget the most important thing, which is action, okay? So that's one thing that I always tell people whenever they reach out to me. Hey, what book did you read? Can you name 3 books that are going to help me out in getting on this process? And literally the only thing I tell them is just go do it.
Yeah.
That's all you need to do is just throw yourself into it. You know, I started in real estate, bought my first 3 unit at the age of 24 in 2017. I didn't know a damn lick about real estate. I was a mover. I moved furniture for a living. I didn't know anything about real estate, but what I did know is that I knew how to take action. Okay, I did my homework. I looked at the building, and I just, you know, you just crunch numbers. If the numbers make sense, the deal makes sense.
Yeah.
That's it. It's plain and simple. If the numbers work, pull off the deal.
Yeah, one of the things people always ask me is like, well, where do I get the money to do a deal? And that kind of paralyzes them from going out and knocking on doors or making the right phone calls. But what I always tell them is, if it's the right kind of deal, the money's just going to be there. It's not going to be hard to find, you know?
Yeah.
It's literally that, man. You have to not pay attention to a lot of people just learn.
Oh, it's one of my biggest pet peeves.
And then they never do.
Yeah.
Okay? And that's the biggest thing that a book's not going to teach you is how to actually do it physically.
They go out and they go like read all these books or do this seminar, fill out their binders and all that, and then they're like, "Where's my money?" Well, you didn't do anything with the information.
You have to do the 5th step, which is take action.
Exactly.
That's and you know, honestly, that's why you and I can go ahead and just teach, because these people will soak it up, right?
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that I really wanted to do, incorporate into my teaching too, is action. Okay, we do action first, which is why we do flip the switch first.
Mm-hmm.
Flip the switch first, and then we will teach you how to go ahead and be a landlord.
Mm-hmm.
We'll teach you how to go ahead and pull off that deal, how to analyze the numbers, how to go ahead and find the right flip, how to find the right wholesale.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like what we do. You know what I mean? Is get that in there.
Yeah.
You have to take that action. It's the biggest piece.
It's good stuff, man. So one of the things I'm going to really focus on with this show is giving back and doing charity.
Yeah.
One of the things that I love that you did was the free plow or the free movers. I remember I started seeing you doing that last year and seeing all the comments on Facebook being like, man, this is going to pay off in the future, and clearly it has. So could you tell us a little bit about like your experiences, like how it made you feel, like giving back to people, like plowing somebody's driveway? Did that drum up more business for you, and like what ways has that changed your life?
So we started Free Plow. So on my real estate agency side of things, I have properties of my own, and you know, I was getting quotes for all these properties, and I was getting astronomical quotes. So I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna go out and buy a plow truck. And I always told myself growing up, because I always would be outside shoveling my own driveway and shoveling my dad's driveway, shoveling all the time, right? I actually had a company where I shoveled driveways when I was in high school. So I always told myself, I always used to watch these plow trucks drive by as they're watching me plow, like shovel this huge mound of wet snow that the plow truck from the city plow truck pushed onto my driveways.
Which I used to plow for a living, so I get it. It sucks.
Yeah, so I literally was there just like trying to stab into this, and I'd watch these plows go by, and I'm like, you know, if I ever get a plow truck and I see someone outside shoveling like that, I will pull in and I will ask them if they ever need a plow. And I meant it. And that's one thing that I take myself very seriously in that regard. So we started going around, and Andrew was with me at the time, and that's when I started Free Plow. Because I saw a couple people along the way, and I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to start doing this as a thing. You know, every day I go out there plowing my driveways, I'm going to go ahead and put something on Facebook and social media and say, hey, you need anybody to get plowed out, let us know. Right? So it just let us know, drop the address on there, we'll go plow and then we'll come back and we'll, so we'd have people literally texting us addresses. Hey, can you plow this one? Can you plow this one? And we're like, yep, got it, right on it. So we'd go and plow it. So it was a lot of fun. And that's one of the big lessons that Andrew learned last winter, was that he would be in the truck with a shovel, and we'd go around and we would find these people. And one day we had a long day of it. One time we plowed a lot of people, and at the end of the day I go, how do you feel? He goes, this is a freaking blast. And I go, when's the last time you ever had fun shoveling a driveway?
Exactly.
Right? And that's one thing I taught. That was a huge lesson for him. I was like, man, that's one reason why we do this business, and how I want to do business, right? Is to give back just as much as you get. Okay, so you want to just give, provide value to as many people as you can. You'll never have to worry about getting.
Yeah, it's like how the old saying goes, you've never heard of anybody going broke or how does it go? You've never heard of anybody like going broke by giving too much.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, you just provide so much value, and that's one thing that I wanted to instill, because Andrew was just like this. He's a young kid who was just like so ambitious. He just wanted money. And I was like, no man, if we're going to do business together, it's about providing value first. You want to provide value, and then you will get whatever you want at that point, because people just find you so like they want to do business with you. And we're driving down the road. He's like, I never thought about it like that. And I said, whenever you do work with the intention of not having money and not receiving money for it, and you're just doing it out of just like trying to provide value for people, I said, that's when you truly have fun, and that's when you truly find that thing that you want to keep doing.
Because it feels good. When you give to somebody in need that wasn't expecting anything from you, it's like no other feeling I've ever felt.
It's not, man.
There was this one lady we pulled into the driveway, and we're like, hey, you want to help? And she was trying to do it with an electric snowblower. And there's no way she was getting through this, dude.
Yeah.
And we pull over, we're like, you want some help? And she was like, no, I'm all set. A lot of people would say no.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, no, we thought they were taking money, dude.
It's like a reflex for them.
Yeah, because they thought we were going to ask for money. And we're like, it's free. That was always our next thing. It's free.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah, we'd love help. And they'd jump out and they'd, shovel up, and I would plow it. And, one lady brought us out cookies and was like basically in tears because she thought she was going to be there all day. She was just trying to get out with her daughter.
Yeah.
So it's just stuff like that, man. We love doing stuff like that. I've moved a couple people for free.
Yeah.
Just giving away like that, and I just like to give my knowledge too. So basically, anybody that ever has a question in real estate or anything for that matter, I always tell them, hey, listen, just reach out to me. I'm an open book. I call it an open mind policy. Yeah. You ever heard open door policy? Yeah. I call it my open mind policy. What's mine over here? If you're willing and bold enough to ask for it, I'll give it to you. I'll lay it all out for you.
Yeah, so for the people back home, I'm sure they're going to love that story of like you going out and helping people. I'm sure they're going to want to do it themselves. So like, for example, like in the fall, let's say they decide they want to go rake leaves for somebody for free. What would you say to somebody that's driving down the street and they see somebody raking leaves and they want to help them, but they're too stuck in their own ways or they're too nervous to actually stop, get out of the car and go talk to them? What would you, in that moment when they talk themselves out of it, what would you tell them to do? What do you want them to think about?
I got one word for them.
Flip the switch.
I knew you were going to say that.
Not even joking. Dude, I'm telling you, man, I'm not even joking. I live my life with this thing.
Yeah.
I really do.
I can tell.
Like there's been multiple deals where Andrew and I are driving down the road and we see someone outside shoveling their driveway, or we see someone outside like breaking their leaves, and it's kind of like we buy and sell real estate, right? So that's what we do. Yeah. We help people out of foreclosure. We do all of this stuff. So we see this house that was in a little bit of rough shape. The guy's outside, and I looked at Andrew. I was like, hey man,
we should have stopped in there. And he goes, yeah, we should have. And I'm like, you know what? Let's go stop in. So I literally, I flipped the switch. I literally said in, let's flip the switch on it. So I pulled in and I pulled around. Sure as hell, yeah, man, I'd love to talk to you. Someone was supposed to come by and buy it one time, but they never did. So, that's great. Can you come and look at it sometime? Yeah, perfect. So, like, whenever you find yourself in that position where you want to help someone, you got to think of yourself differently. You got to think about the other person, right? How's it going to make them feel? And I can guarantee you, when you do flip the switch and you think about that consciously, like, okay, I need to flip the switch here, it's gonna hold you to this different standard,
Sure.
right? And Andrew literally holds me to it all the time, and it's hilarious because he's been trying to do it to me on so many different things now.
We're thinking about buying an RV and moving out and just like living poor again, just like living homeless.
Yeah.
We're thinking about doing an RV style, and I saw an RV the other day with a guy sitting in it. I'm like, you think that guy would sell his RV to us? And Andrew goes, you won't. And he goes, you won't go ask him. And I just started to drive away, and I'm like, yeah, no, I mean, he's probably pretty tired. He's probably gonna. And then he goes, flip the switch, you won't. And I literally threw it in reverse, and I went back. So, and I didn't regret it, dude.
Yeah.
The one thing that I've learned is that whenever, especially when you're helping someone, if you were to help someone raking those leaves, you're never gonna drive away regretting it.
Sure.
You will never drive away regretting that. And whether they say no, yes, maybe, they're never going to drive away saying, I shouldn't have done that.
Sure.
Ever. You won't.
Because even if they say no and, you can't get them to agree to let you help them, at least you can drive away saying, like, hey, at least I tried.
Yeah. And just that fact alone, and knowing that you did something that you said you were going to do, is the biggest key, man. Like, we do shit every day that we say we want to do, and we don't ever do them, which at the end of the day, they all add up, and we're like, wow, it doesn't make us feel good about ourselves. Like, name one person that says they want to go to the gym, doesn't go to the gym, then feels great about not going to the gym at the end of the day. You can't find one person that does that.
Yeah.
They feel bad that they didn't go to the gym, that they even try to justify it. So, you're never going to drive away from helping, especially when you're helping someone, where you're like, you feel bad about it. And that goes for helping yourself too. Like going to the gym and eating well. Yeah. You're never going to go walk away from those situations where you're saying, should have done that. So that's kind of like flip the switch, man. I'm telling you, it's going to be big. Grant Cardone has his 10X. Grant, all these guys have their things. Flip the switch has just been my thing, man. I just live my life by it, and I truly believe in it.
Yeah.
For everything, for everybody. Doesn't have to be any sort of industry or anything. It's for literally everything you possibly can think of.
Yeah. Yeah. So cool. So wrapping things up, I'll just ask a few more questions here. Do you have any book recommendations for the viewers back home?
I mean, realistically, Robert Kiyosaki.
Yeah.
Right? That's probably the big one. I know that I recommended that a couple times. And another one that I have read in the past, A Leader Without a Title, which was really cool.
Never heard
Yeah,
of it.
I don't remember, I'm not really good at names or anything, but I remember that book very vividly, and it pretty much was basically talking about, like, no matter what you do it 110%.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you have a boss, or if it's not your company, or whatever. Okay, and the way I think of it is just provide value. Okay, and that's kind of how I've always taken it. That's how I've run every single business I've ever had. It's just like, provide value, man. Whenever you sit there in front of someone, provide value to them first. Don't ask for anything. Like, don't ask for money. Don't ask for anything. Just say, I can help you with that, and then just go ahead and actually just go over the top with your help for them. And 9 times out of 10, they'll be begging to give you money.
Cool. It's always a nice position to be in. Well,
you've experienced it, man.
Oh, sure.
You do wholesales and
And foreclosures and stuff. When you genuinely help someone out of a tough position, they want you to get compensated.
No better feeling.
Yeah.
But, okay, so let's say 10, 20 years from now, you knew that your kids or your grandkids were going to be watching this video. What would you want to say to them right now?
Just flip the switch. Just flip the switch. That's it.
That's it.
Don't ever get into a position or a situation where you say to yourself, I can't do that. Like, because 9 times out of 10, or I'm telling you 10 out of 10, we as people do not know what we're capable of. We genuinely do not. Okay, I don't care who you are. You do not know what you're capable of
until you actually go out and try.
And even then, you still don't, like, you probably hit the bar too low. You know what I mean? That's why a lot of people scream, set goals, set goals, set goals. But I have a very different way of thinking about goals, where I genuinely believe that you have to be careful setting goals, because you can limit yourself with a goal.
Yeah.
You can. And that's one reason, that's one thing that I've taken very seriously this year. If I had set a goal for myself last year, I would have hit it very short. Just based on the stuff that I've done this year, I wouldn't have even gone anywhere close. Yeah. So you have to be careful. Whenever you set your goals, you have to be really careful. Like, I believe that you have to set goals not based on numbers or things or counts. I believe you have to set your goals on a feeling, or how much value you want to provide, or just have that endless drive to just help as many people as possible. Those kind of goals are endless, man.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, so to all the viewers back home, do you want to let them know where they can find you, where they can contact you if they have any questions, or if they want to be a part of the Flip the Switch movement? Yeah, so I mean, we do have an apparel line now that, you know, we're hoping some people, you know, really buy into this stuff and like really start to believe and flip the switch for themselves. We've had quite a few orders already. It's ifliptheswitch.com. I won't go over all of my URLs because I have a ton of them for each business. Sure, yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, basically all of them run off of on my Instagram page, which is at Tyler Hall Empire.
Yeah.
Basically, you can find pretty much all of them on there. And there's going to be a link soon that you'll be able to click on, and you'll be able to see everything in one rip. So, yeah.
Good stuff.
A lot of cool stuff happening, man. It's a lot of cool stuff that is going to help a lot of people.
I'm happy to see how successful you're becoming.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, man.
I love it.
We're just having fun.
I know, and we're only 26, 25 years old.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what the next 60 years are gonna hold.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, I say it all. People ask me all the time, "What do you do?" And I literally play a game of Monopoly every single day.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
It's a blast.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, you can find me on there. You know, again, reach out to me anytime. I'm an open book. I'm an open mind. So, definitely willing to give as much information as I possibly can to whoever it is. You know, whether they be, you know, I have a lot of information. For instance, like on lead paint, that a lot of guys that have been in the business for 30 years don't know anything about. You know what I mean? Because I just had buildings go through lead paint process, multiple, at the same time. So I had to forcibly learn that stuff. But yeah, go reach out to me anytime. Reach out to both of us. You know, we're close friends, so absolutely.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah.